month of February, and our theme for the month is strategies for rapid dashboard development and impactful storytelling. And next slide. So yeah, so first of all, join us, be a part of the Tableau Data Farm in Lagos and Nigeria. We are dedicated to building a supportive and inclusive community for Tableau enthusiasts in Lagos and Nigeria at large. Our mission is to connect Tableau users of all skill levels, from beginners to experts, fostering an environment where members can share knowledge, network, and grow their visualization skills. We are committed to promoting data-driven decision-making and showcasing the talent and innovation within the local Tableau community. So you can scan the barcode directly to join. Next slide, Kenny. So meet the Lagos TUG leaders, starting from the left to the right. We have Omoke Dayodeji, data analyst at Oaks Intelligence, myself, Bola Adebayo, data visualization developer, Maureen Okonko, also consultant at Swift Insights, at Idris Akilapa, an analyst at Flutterwave. Next slide. Next slide, please. Kenny? Okay. Meet Ken Dayodeji. She's the data analyst at Oaks Intelligence, focused on helping individuals enhance their Tableau skills and navigate their visualization journey. She's a passionate Tableau lover. She's currently a Tableau Public Ambassador. Also nominated for the Business 3 times 2024, and also a member of the Tableau Next 2024 cohort, and I've been mentioned several times on the Weekly Data Farm blog. In her free time, she enjoys watching movies, excluding horror, and finds realization through sightseeing. You can follow her on X at Kenny Nectar, spelled out as you can see. And then meet myself. I'm a data visualization developer at Magnets. I've been using Tableau for over 3 years for both work and fun. I am currently a Tableau visionary and also a 2-time Tableau ambassador, and also lucky enough to win the Visits twice. Outside of Tableau, I love Manchester City. I like going to the gym, whiskey testing, and Pinteresting. So you can follow on X at Bolahon with a spelled out. So yeah, meet Maureen. Maureen is a Tableau analytics consultant at Swift Insights, a 1-time Tableau ambassador, 2024. Also winner of the most recent notable new VZ award, and also been lucky enough to speak at the Tableau Data Farm, Europe and London, with reviews of the day in Tableau Public. In her free time, she finds fun exploring new culinary adventures and traveling. So you can follow Maureen on X at That's Tableau Girl. And then finally, on our list, Idris Akilakpa works as a risk and compliance analyst at Flutterwave. Idris is also a free-time Tableau Public Ambassador with over 4 years of experience as a seasoned data analyst and Tableau developer. He excels in using Python, Excel, the rest of the tools to extract, analyze, and visualize complex data sets. In his free time, he loves playing video games and watching Netflix. Follow Idris on X at I am_Akila. Next slide, Kenny. So meeting ground rules for today. 3 majorly: interact, say hello, and interact with the rest of the audience in the chat section. Make sure to ask questions. Make sure to submit your questions in the Q&A section. Selected questions will be answered live at the end of the speaker session. And most importantly, learn and have fun. Meetings are recorded and found after on the Lagos TUG YouTube channel, so you can definitely take your time to listen to the speakers for today. Make sure you have fun, you pay attention, and if you miss anything, you definitely get the link to the recording in the following week. We'll also send it to you through mail. So meet our speakers for today. We have Zyad Wael. He is a BI specialist at Data Plus Information Systems. And then we also have Sekou Tyler. is the founder and CEO of Real Blue Analytics. Next slide. So Zyad is the BI specialist at Data Plus Information Systems based in Egypt, with expertise in data visualization and end-to-end data solutions. As a certified Tableau and Alteryx professional, he knows his way around data extraction, transformation, and dashboard design, helping businesses make smarter moves with their numbers. In his free times, he loves to watch some anime, likes to play games, and build products or businesses. That's an amazing hobby in your free time, building products and businesses. You can follow him on X at _Godzilla. And then next slide. So meet Sekou Tyler, founder of Real Blue Analytics. If you're on LinkedIn, definitely you've seen his really amazing podcasts that he does, and also his really, really amazing posts and very, very cool data analytics related content. He's a self-proclaimed data geek, a computer aficionado who combines the scientific elements of data analysis with the narrative properties of visualization. Is highly experienced and is result driven. And is a highly experienced and result driven data analytics independent consultant. With over 10 years of expertise in the field, he has a proven track record of helping businesses transform their data into actionable insights, driving informed decision making and improved performance. He loves spending time with his family, riding peloton, playing basketball and American football, cooking, and watching movies. So you can follow Sekou Tyler on X at SQL Sekou, as spelled. Next slide. And so we go to our first speaker for the day, Zyad, with productivity hacks for faster and smarter dashboard builds. Ken, you can stop sharing, and Zyad, you can share your screen. Very good to have you. Just try to share your screen.
Yes, sure. Am I audible first?
Yes, you are, and I can see your screen. You have
Thank
the floor.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah. First of all, thank you, Maureen, JB, for the invitation to allow me to present in the Lagos W user group, and hopefully it won't be the last time. This is one of the most well-known dashboards on the Tableau public, which is developed by Priya, and I'll be presenting my tips on it. Usually, this is the first dashboard, and assuming we want to edit the tooltips, so the normal method is to go to the sheets, and from the marsh card, we just press the tooltip. Just hold on because it's in my second screen. Yeah, so can you see the tooltip now?
No, not yet. Okay, yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Okay,
So
this is the normal way to edit the tooltip. However, luckily Tableau gave us an easy shortcut from the menu bar. It's, first we need to select the worksheets, and from here we can easily select the tooltip.
Sorry to cut you, Zyad. I don't think we can see it, actually.
Just hold on.
Okay.
So first, can you see it right now, right?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, first we need to select the worksheets which we want to edit its tooltip, and we navigate to the worksheet menu, and from the worksheet menu we select tooltip, and that we have the tooltip already opened in the dashboards where we can easily just edit. However, there is an easier shortcut which is Alt-WO, which will do the same the same method. It will go to the worksheets and open tooltip. However, this shortcut doesn't work on Mac. It's only available on Windows version. So hopefully Tableau will, like in the next releases, will make it available on Mac. Second tip we have is switching between floating and tiled objects. For example, if you have a template of dashboards, and sometimes myself I copy like images, logos, etc., maybe titles and text. So if I'm working in tiled, it like once it's pasted in dashboards, it gets into the floating object. So how can we switch between floating and tiled? By pressing Shift and just drag our object here. As you can see, it was already tiled from the options here, and once I dropped it to the canvas, it was in the floating mode. Assuming that I would like to copy this sheet, let me just duplicate it. And from here, once I press Shift, it gets into floating. The third tip, sometimes when I upload my dashboards into the server or public, and even if I click format and disable all these lines, there might be a grid line. So the workaround here is to just navigate to the format, workbook, and from here lines we'll just make it off. This way we can just turn off or disable the grid line for the whole workbook, and no grid lines will be available. Next step is if we have a template ready-made, and or we have different sheets for testing purposes, and we just want to swap it in our dashboard. So the normal method is like we just delete it and then we drag the other sheet here. There is an method. Let me just duplicate this sheet to demonstrate it. We want to remove this sheet and replace it by this sheet. As you can see, there is a hook. This is the swapping hook. Once we click over it, it's asks us like if you want to delete the worksheet or unhide. We simply unhide, and it swaps the sheet we choose with the dashboard sheets instead of just removing it and adding it again. This step, usually when we want to create a new sheet or dashboard, this is the only method where we just click here and it creates the sheet at the end of the menu bar here. What if we want the sheet to be available? Myself, I would like the sheets where I'm working at is to be near the dashboard. So I select the dashboards, right click, and choose new worksheets. It creates the sheet that I want close to the dashboards I'm working into it. This one can be a bit tricky. When we want to create a fixed LED, we just type fixed. For example, we choose our dimension and then our measure. And this is our fixed LED. However, there is a much easier way where we can create fixed LEDs, where we just select our measures and then select control and maybe hover over the dimension where we want. As you can see, there is a blue highlighted border. This indicates that once we release our measure, it will automatically create our fixed LED for us. The next step, as you can see in this workshop, we have many measures, many dimensions, and many calculations. However, if I want to find like a calculated field, and if I know its name, I can easily search it over here. But what if I can't remember its name? There's an easy way where I can filter the data pane by calculations, and it provides me the calculation that I created. And also I can filter by dimension, measure, and comments, etc. In the canvas, we have category and subcategory. And for example, we will be having our calculations. This is a nested LOD where we are calculating the sum of sales on a fixed subcategory and getting its maximum in each subcategory, and then having it in the dimension of category. So what if, usually if there is an error in calculations, we just edit it, and from here we can edit the calculation right away. There is an easy method where we can verify the logic before just pressing the OK. For example, I want to verify that the sum of sales, actually the maximum, highlight it and just drop it down to the text. Just hold on. And it just returns me the maximum of each subcategory. And to verify the whole logic before adding it, hit back. Just hold on. So it gets me the maximum of each subcategory. It can be easier if there is like when we validate the numbers, it can be easier to edit directly here in the calculated field instead of just clicking edit and get it back to the canvas. The last step is for testing purposes. If we need to if we have multiple sheets and we no more need it, so we can delete it easily by either writing and delete. However, if you want to delete multiple sheets, we can easily use the shift and control button. The shift usually selects a range of sheets. For example, if I want to just delete from here to here, from 7 to 9, so I'll just click shifts and it selects the range of 3 sheets. Once I click and delete, it deletes this range. However, if I want to delete different sheets not in the range, I just press click and choose the sheets that I want to delete and delete them. And that's it. Any questions?
Not any so far. Okay. All right. So feel free to put your questions in the Q&A. Anyone, if you have questions, please just pop it right in there. We don't have any questions yet as of the moment. But yeah, I'm sure like when we have questions, you get to see it in the Q&A.
Yes, I'll
But
be.
yeah. So while we're waiting, like I think there's a tool you recently shared like
Yes.
that. Yeah. So if you want to talk about that with the remaining of your time, that would be amazing. You have
Yeah.
about 10
Yeah. Sure.
minutes. Yeah,
Sure. No problem. No problem.
definitely.
Let me just.
Okay. Okay, let us know when you're sharing your screen so I can confirm that we can see it.
Yes. Sure. So can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, this is a tool where I and Hazem, my colleague who developed it, just like I'll go straight forward into the tool. It helps us to extract .hyper data files, shapes files, and images in any Tableau files. So if you go to any Tableau public, and for example, you find any dashboards you like. So when you download it, you don't have access to the shapes folder, which is already present in the Tableau file, which is present in the documents folder. So this tool helps us to access all these three files: .hyper, shapes, and images. And what we all need is to download the workbook. So I'll choose my file right now. Just hold on. Then I'll process the file, and the file is in my downloads. So let me switch to my downloads folder. You can already see my screen, right?
Yes, we can.
So these are the folders which was extracted: the TWP workbook, the data, which is the .hyper, and all the images that was used in the workbook, and as well as shapes. There's no shapes available here, so if anyone is using custom shapes, it will be shown over here in this folder. So that's it.
Thank you. Very cool. I think it's a very, very useful tool. I don't know if anyone has any questions about the tool or anything that Zaid has shared so far. Sekou, I don't know if you're available already as well. Just also let me know. So if you have any questions, please, like I said, feel free to pop it in the. Okay. So someone asked what the name of the tool is
I'll make sure to paste the link in the
in the
chat.
chat. Okay. Okay. Cool.
And I got the inspiration. We got the inspiration of the tool when I was working on a Monday makeover, I guess, and and it had some URL images. So I wanted to like make the images on the rows, like it was a movie, like images movie, I guess, or maybe countries. So it was difficult to get each country name and map them into the shapes. Like getting it from Wikipedia or from Google or from wherever, it will just take double the time developing like the dashboard itself. So the inspiration came from here. Just I thought, why I don't develop a tool and it just extracts everything I need.
That's very cool. But definitely the knowledge of Python and that's tools would have been very helpful in doing that. Amazing. Thank you so much once again, Zed, for your presentation. I think we found it fun. It was really,
Thank,
really well done. Got several tips from it as well. Thank you so
thank you.
much.
It's my pleasure. And
Yeah.
if you have any comments regarding the tool itself, feel free to just drop a feedback. You'll like anyone will find a feedback form in the website of the tool. So just feel free to drop any comments, and we'll be adjusting accordingly.
All right, cool. Thank you. Um, Thank you, Zayad. Sakura, I don't know if you're available. Kenny, if you could share your screen so I just introduce this topic and Let's see. Okay, I'm not sure I can see anything on your screen at the moment. Okay, cool. Yeah. So next, we have Sekou Tyler, who's going to be talking to us about the hearts of big data storytelling. And I don't know if he's right here with us already. I think he asked for a quick recess. Okay, okay, it's not yet here. So meanwhile, Zyad, I think you have a question or two. Maureen is asking if
Yes.
she can extract flags. Okay.
Maureen, the tool extracts, like if the developer uses external shapes, it extracts those shapes, even if it's flags, icons, anything.
Okay, cool. Okay. I think Maureen got that. All right,
Yes,
fantastic.
yes.
Okay. So while we wait for Sekou to join us, we just also wanted to announce that next month we'll be having our first physical section or meeting of the year, Lagos to UG. Please be sure to check out our social media, Lagos to UG, at Lagos to UG on Twitter or X, and also Lagos Tableau user group on LinkedIn. That's very important. So would definitely be having our first physical section. So let's take just one or two general questions. I think Sako will just turn on his video when he's ready. So there is a question here that's I'm just starting to learn Tableau. How best can I start learning Tableau? I've watched some YouTube videos. I'm about to buy Udemy course. Am I right? Am I on the right track? Yeah, so personally from my end, I would say everything you've done so far is on the right track. When it comes to learning Tableau, my biggest advice is usually learning by doing and getting your hands like right into the mix and dirt of it. Be sure to check out community challenges like Makeover Monday, Back to Visual Basics. So many of these amazing initiatives are out there in the community. And I would always advise that the best way to learn is to do. And just even before you start like getting courses and paying for courses and all of that, just be sure to get into this community project and start visualizing and get right there. So yeah, we have Sekou Tyler with us, who's going to be taking us through the art of big data storytelling, sorry. Kenny, you can stop sharing your screen. So you have the floor. Thank you.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Sorry about that. My daughter was yelling, so I had to
Yeah.
be a dad right quick. So,
Cool.
cool. Let me go ahead and jump into this. Man, thank y'all so much for having me on. I'm excited to talk and connect and talk through the art of big data storytelling. So let's get into it. All right. Proceed. All right. Can y'all see my screen? Everything good?
Yes, everything
Yes.
good.
All right, perfect. All right, thank you so much for having me today. These slides are from DataFam Europe, so I got the pleasure of presenting this at the Europe conference in London early last year. I did this with my sister, Chantilly Juggernaut. If y'all don't know Chantilly, she is a Tableau Hall of Fame. She's the GOAT, the greatest of all time when it comes to Tableau, in my opinion. I'm Sekou Tyler, the founder and CEO of Royal Blue Analytics, and that's me, and that's Chantilly. We co-presented this, so I will do my best today to pretend like I'm Chantilly and present her section of it. But today we will be talking about the art of big data storytelling. Quick introduction. Thanks for the introduction earlier. So I appreciate that. But about me, I've been in the industry for about 10 plus years in BI data analytics. So I do a number of things. I've worked on a lot of different companies, done a lot of different things. Founder and CEO, Royal Blue Analytics. We're a data analytics consulting company. We specialize in helping nonprofits and small businesses with their data stack, whether it's helping them with data engineering or training or their BI reporting. We do it all front end and back end. As far as community engagement, I'm a Tableau social ambassador. I help co-lead a Tableau user group, Black in Data, and a former Nashville Tableau user group leader. And social media everywhere, Blue Sky, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, Sekou. Follow me. Please like my content. I put a lot out there. So follow me on there. Connect me on LinkedIn if you haven't already. Certifications. I do a number of things. Always try and keep a job. So I'm a Tableau certified consultant, Databricks certified data analyst, Alteryx Designer Core, Microsoft Fabric. I feel like I might be forgetting some, but basically I pride myself in being a utility knife. And then I have a podcast called 10 Minute Tuesday. So if you want to be on my podcast, hit me up in my comments, in my super message. We'll make it happen. As far as Chantilly, she's been in the industry 14 plus years. She is the founder and CEO of Millennials and Data. She has over 100 graduates from 10 plus cohorts. She is just absolutely fantastic. She does a lot of great content, a lot of great sessions, a lot of different things in the Tableau community. As I mentioned this year, she is a part of the Tableau Visionary Hall of Fame, just got announced last year, and she's a former Tableau Public Ambassador. But for today, the agenda, we're going to talk about the importance of storytelling and data analysis, understanding big data within the modern data stack, understanding stakeholder expectations, and dashboard development methodology. So when we talk about the importance of storytelling and data analysis, we want to make sure that we humanize the data. So when looking at data sets, it's more than just columns and rows of information. When it comes to storytelling, you want to humanize it as much as possible. So if we're working with some healthcare information, how can we humanize, whether we are working with a hospital system and we are looking at time to wait before someone goes to a hospital bed, or if we're looking at outcomes-based information, right? How can we humanize what this means for people who are working with it? Same as if we're working with a dry cleaning company or if we're working with manufacturing logistics, how can we humanize and put ourselves into the data to tell the story that we're trying to reflect? And then one of the things, important things when it comes to storytelling is it can enhance your comprehension. So a lot of times stories can provide context and add additional meaning that you might not necessarily have with just numbers and rows. So you want to be able to drive and hit home the story that you're trying to tell. And then at the end of the day, you want to drive decision making. So you want to make sure that the information that we are showing is making decisions, or it's helping people make decisions with the information that they have. So understanding big data within the modern data stack. One, we're going to talk about what the definition of big data is. Two, what are the characteristics of big data? And then introduction to the medallion architecture. So if you're looking at anything, especially online, or if you're trying to look more into the back-end data warehouse stuff, you might hear this word medallion architecture. So we're going to walk through that process of what that really means and what it is and that philosophy. So big data basically encompasses vast volumes of structured and unstructured data. So as a Tableau user group and as BI developers, typically a lot of stuff that we use is structured, which means it has columns, it has rows, it's in a CSV, it's in a table. We can aggregate it, we can roll it up, we can do all types of stuff. But there's a lot of times where people with big data can work with unstructured data. And what that means is that you're looking at text. Sometimes you're doing images. So if you're doing any type of machine learning, video, sensor data, posts, so on and so forth, sometimes that stuff is unstructured. But with big data, all that stuff can be combined. So when you think about big data, right, is how do we combine structured and unstructured data into our big data warehouse and then pull out the stuff, the information that we need. The biggest piece, if you don't want to take anything away from this, especially as developers, as we think about the front end, right, visualizations and what can we do in Tableau, right? What type of LODs can we do? What type of custom calculations can we do? Sometimes we can do some of that stuff on the back end. So if we're pulling from a SQL server, if we're pulling from a database, sometimes we can do some of these transformations in the back end. That way the BI tool that we're using doesn't have to use so many resources. So the biggest rule that I say is data should be transformed as far upstream as possible and as far downstream as necessary. So what that means, upstreams means is closer to where the data source is originally produced. So I mentioned sometimes you can do some of these transformations, and if you're using an Excel file, you can do some of your pivots or remove some of your columns or remove some of your information. If you're working in a view, if you're working in a database, you can do some of that logic behind the scenes in a view. That way, when you're connecting with Tableau, you're pulling in an already cleaner source of data. But sometimes you do have to do some custom aggregations, and you have to do some of that stuff in Tableau itself. So there is a point where you have to make a decision of like, all right, I've done too much cleaning, too much optimization upstream to the source. Maybe I need to get to a level and I let Tableau handle the rest. So good rule of thumb, like where you can possible, get it upstream, clean it to the source as much as possible. But sometimes you have to do it downstream within Tableau itself. All right, so let's walk through the medallion architecture. So this viewpoint really walking through what it is, and it's a methodology and it's not tool specific. So it's not a Microsoft, it's not a Databricks, it's not a Snowflake, it's not any of this. This is actual methodology and ideology. And basically with the medallion architecture is saying we have our bronze layer. And what our bronze layer means is that we have our raw information. So let's say I'm pulling some information from an API. I'm doing an API call and I want to land it as a JSON file and I want to land into my data source. My bronze layer is where I have it untouched, it's not clean, it's the source file. So if I ever need to do any auditing, I will go to my bronze layer to look at this information. My silver layer, this is where I start to clean it, filter it, and I start applying some logic. So maybe I'm starting to move to the silver layer. I'm adding some transformations. I'm adding some timestamps. I'm adding some, other stuff to make sure that I'm starting to transform it. And then the gold layer is where we want to have our single source of truth. And what I mean by that is that this is where we're doing a lot of our business level aggregation. So we're removing a lot of the noise, a lot of the unneeded columns. We're doing some of the calculations. So we're looking at a dashboard and we want to look at the information rolled up by month and we want to look at it by particular categories. We can create a view with the gold layer that is allowing us to connect Tableau to that allows us to have a cleaner place. And what that also does is allow you to have a single source of truth. So if this gold layer view has a lot of the business logic already defined, we can put Tableau on it and we can create multiple dashboards and understand that we have one single source of truth where no matter what, we go to this and our logic is the same across the board. So this is the medallion architecture in a 20-second nutshell. So when you think about big data, some of the big vendors out there are Snowflake, Databricks, Amazon Web Services, you got Microsoft Azure. These are the big players. And basically, these are the ones who are either housing your information, your cloud services, and you're allowed to do a lot of your big data transformations on this platform. So an example of what the medallion architecture could look like in Snowflake is that in my bronze layer, my raw layer, right, I have structured data. So if I'm pulling in 10 CSV files, but then I also have some JSON files, and then I also have some images, and I have some other stuff that has metadata in it. In my raw layer, I'm storing all that information together. Right? I'm not doing any transformation. It looks the same. Our silver layer, which is our conform layer, we're starting to do some of these transformations and clean up, and we want to make sure that we're starting to transform it and get it ready for our actual gold and reporting layer. So in our JSON, semi-structured, our metadata that we have in our photos, we start to pull that in the silver layer. We're starting to pull the relevant information in that data layer to then get it to our gold layer. Then that way we can put Tableau on top of it and start visualizing that information. So we're allowing these big data products to do some of that cleanup for us. So we think about medallion architecture. We can leverage Tableau to technically do some medallion architecture. So if you're familiar with Tableau Prep, what the premise of Tableau Prep is to let you do some ETL, which is extract, transform, and load. It allows you to do some cleanup and get some information into the format that you need. So if we're thinking about this, if we're connected to several CSV files and a OneDrive, and then we also need to connect to a SQL Server, we need to connect to a Python script that we have locally, right? We can upload this to a bronze layer or bronze database, right? It's a bronze area. We can leverage Tableau Prep to do those inputs for us. And then we can do some outputs from the bronze that we've done to our silver layer, right? So we're starting to clean up. We're starting to get some information. We're starting to validate it. It's starting to look good. And then we can also use Tableau Prep to pull from our silver layer to our gold layer. And our gold layer is, again, our reporting data sets that are cleaned up. That way, when we put Excel or Tableau Online, whatever the tool is, it's already cleaned up for us. So we've done a lot of that quality stuff. And then again, the biggest piece is now we have a single source of truth for our information that we have. So when we think about the gold layer benefits, one is enhanced performance. You removed a lot of the noise, a lot of cleanup. So it is a really cleaned up, you aggregated, done a lot of the transformations there. So your performance should be a lot better. So if you've done this correctly, let's say you have a data set that has 1 million rows, but if I've gone and done some of my transformations, maybe I have 100,000 rows with 5 columns. So because of that, you reduce the number of records in there, which means you're going to have increased performance. It's scalable. That means it allows you to connect to different data sources. It's flexible. Resource optimization. So again, if you're doing a lot of the performance improvements in the gold layer, this allows you to optimize your resources that are using it and then improve data governance. So I'm sure we all run into this issue. I created a dashboard. I connect to this data set. I pushed it up. My stakeholders look at it. There's another report that has this number. This other report has this number. Which one is the truth, right? So if we have a single source of truth, we can help with that data governance of saying that, hey, this is the right number because we have the same logic and the same source of truth. So we're easy to understand what exactly is going on. So think about a real world use case, right? We have a VP of sales who wants to keep track of sales generated within the company. They want to have a operational interactive dashboard, and they want to have it with the regional leads as well as the VP of the sales team. So when we think about what we're going to do, we want to understand what subcategories have the highest sales, what are the sales per region over time, what are the sales, profit, customers, and orders for each region, What are the sales per state? Which segment and region have the highest sales and total sales, profit, and orders? So we're thinking about this request. We broke it down into the areas that we want. So we think about the Tableau prep medallion architecture. So we have a concept where we're looking at our orders. So we're going way back to 2020. We're going to look at that information. We can use Tableau prep to remove some of this information and clean it up using the medallion architecture methodology that we just discussed. So when we think about our stakeholders, right, we've gone really technical. We've gone into the weeds. We're talking about medallion architecture. We talked about cleaning. When it comes to your stakeholders, I truly believe that the majority, if they're not in the weeds, they're not writing SQL, if they're not in Databricks world, say they're an account manager, or if they're a operations manager, typically they just want their information to be accurate and correct. They don't really care if it's coming from a database, if it's coming from a lakehouse, semantic layer, Tableau polls, whatever that is, right? All these technologies that are thrown out there, they just want their results to be accurate and they want their results to come in fast. So as we know, when we build our dashboards, we got to make sure the accuracy is correct on the front end, because initially when you roll out something, if you can't trust the results, you destroy trust on a very early standpoint. So we want to make sure that we are providing accurate results. And they do care about, does this information answer the questions that I want? And am I getting the outcome that I desire? So really when I'm creating a dashboard, what am I looking at? What's the information that's tied to it? What action can I take with this, right? The biggest piece we want to make sure is that when we're creating something that they can actually take it and make a decision with it. And what are my KPIs? Have they defined the KPIs? Are we helping them with that process of understanding what the KPIs are? And then how does this make my business better, right? So as we know with storytelling, we want to make sure that we're providing information that's relevant to them and that the information can be used to make their business run better. And then again, they want their results to be faster and accurate. So with some of the optimization with the goal layer, if we're doing our aggregations right, we have a single source of truth, the information should be really good and a lot faster. So Royal Blue Analytics, we have a 4-step dashboard methodology. Step 1 is we do discovery. We ask a lot of questions on the front end. So we want to understand where your business is at. We want to understand what your KPIs are. Do you know what your KPIs are, where your information is? Then we go through step 2, which is a wireframe. Step 3, we actually develop and implement. And then step 4 is testing and deployment. So step 1, we go through the process of discovery and requirements gathering. So with the discovery process, we have 2 steps that we focus on. We focus on data discovery and then reporting discovery. So step 1 is data discovery. So we want to understand what the data is, right? We can't access their actual data, then we can't create a dashboard. So we want to understand where their data is located. How can we access it? Do we need a VPN? Do we need a virtual machine? Is it on-prem? Is there a roll-up security that's needed? How do we actually identify the data sources that are needed? And then we think about the data transformation. So when we're thinking about our goal layers and our data sources, what are the relationships between the tables? Is there a common relationship? Do we need to use multi-factor analysis? How do we join between 2 tables? Will it be just one wide table? So we don't understand what's needed. What filters and calculations should be created and applied? Identify the data freshness. So how often is the source data updated, which is really huge, because if you are setting up refreshes on the database, so if your source data is only updated once a month, but then on Tableau online, you are setting up your reports to refresh every day, that's a waste of resources because the source data is only refreshed once a month. So we want to understand how often the source data is being updated, and then how often should the report be updated? And then data security, do we need row-level security? Do we need to limit it by regional directors? What type of security needs to be implemented? Then we go into the actual report discovery. So we want to understand what the key metrics are. So we ask, what questions are you trying to answer? What metrics do you want to track? How should the data be sliced? So what type of dimensions should we slice this information by? And what type of information is there? We want to understand the stakeholders. So we want to understand if we're looking at executive level audience, or if we're looking at account managers, we're looking at operations. So executive level audience, they might only have 5 seconds to look at this information, whereas operations will want to get into the weeds. So they want more granular information. So we want to understand who it is exactly that we're talking to and building this for. And then what analytical tools are they currently using? Are they using Excel files that they are emailing each other every single day? Are they using Alteryx to do some of their data manipulation? Are they using Power BI? Are they using any other tools, right? So what are they currently using in their daily world? Because we want to understand where they're at. And then we want to understand how they want to consume it. So will this dashboard be viewed on mobile? Will it be viewed on a computer? Will they want actual information emailed to them daily? Should we set up alerts and subscriptions? And then brand preferences. So we want to understand kind of how we want to have the dashboard look. So if there's a current like color scheme, or they have logos, or is there a template that they're using? Can we reuse the information that they already have? We don't want to reinvent the wheel if they already have stuff built out. So talking about data discovery, in this example, we look through a Snowflake environment. We understand that we will need a remote desktop to connect to it. We understand that each year is housed in a different table, and we need to incorporate regional manager data because we want to secure this information. They're currently in a migration, so the table is available for 2021. We'll update on a monthly basis going forward, and then each regional manager can view the company data. Individuals on a regional team should only view that team's data, so we know we need to have some roll-up security there as well. So when it comes to discovery, as we mentioned, we got the request, so we want to understand the subcategories that have the highest sales, the sales per region over time, sales profit and total orders for each region, what are the sales per state, and then the total sales profit and orders. When it comes to the stakeholders, we know that we are looking at executive level teams. So we have a VP, the regional managers, and regional team members. And a VP of sales currently uses a PDF. So he gets a weekly email a daily email in a PDF format that he's used to. So we can create a Tableau dashboard that gives him the same look and feel, meets him where he's at, but then offer training of saying like, hey, if you actually go on the Tableau, you can click on this and actually interact with it. Regional managers currently use Tableau and PDF, and the regional team members only use Tableau. When it comes to consumption, the dashboards will be viewed on Tableau Cloud with the ability to export the PDF, and PDF subscriptions should be sent to the team on a monthly basis. And then we have brands guidelines that are provided via PDF with the company colors and RGBs and logos. So step 2 is the wireframing component. So wireframes, if you're not using wireframes, I highly recommend using wireframes. They're fantastic. What they allow you to do is to connect to the stakeholder and visualize the layout and structure before any development happens. So this really saves you a lot of time in the process of giving them something tangible to look at to say like, hey, here's what we heard in the questions that we asked you. Here's the actual artifact of what the dashboard can potentially look like. Are we on the right track? We're not on the right track. And then if you are doing development, you have a place to look at and say like, my stuff needs to go here. My information needs to go here. So if you're not using wireframing, if you're not, used to it, highly check out wireframing. It saves a lot of time when connected with stakeholders. So one, we're going to select a wireframing tool. There are a lot of different wireframing tools that are out there. You have a low fidelity wireframe. So basically what this does is allows you to put the actual artifacts on your wireframe without using color. These are black and white, but you're able to put like your KPIs and trend charts and different information on there. A couple different tools that are out there are Miro, Balsamiq, Adobe XD, and Sketch. These two, I like Miro, I like Balsamiq. They're really cool tools to use that allow you to kind of drag and drop and get your wireframe out there. So an example of using Balsamiq is, as we mentioned, right, this is low fidelity and no color. But what you can do is you just start mapping out what your dashboard can look like using Balsamiq. And these are really drag and drop things that you can put on here to create a wireframe. And what this does is now as you build this out, you can technically hand this off to your stakeholder and say, hey, this is what I heard. Here's the information. Here are the KPIs. Here's what I think you have. And this is what I would like to show you. So this is Balsamiq. Now, when it comes to high fidelity wireframes, this is looking closer to like the final product in terms of the layout, functionality, and what it could look like. So unlike low fidelity wireframes, this high fidelity actually has visual components. So we have the style guide, we have the typography, we have images, interactive elements, and anything that we want to do in Tableau, we can put in a high fidelity wireframe. So a lot of people out there are using Figma. I like using Mockup, which is an AI wireframing tool. It's freaking awesome. It's really cool if you haven't seen it before. There's a lot of cool stuff where they're allowing you to actually export your wireframe to Tableau itself. So check out Mockup. They're a pretty new company using AI to build out their stuff. I don't get paid for this at all, but it's just a tool that I like. You have Sketch, Adobe XD, Adobe Photoshop, and then of course you have PowerPoint. Don't sleep on PowerPoint. You can do a lot of great stuff in PowerPoint when it comes to wireframing and getting that stuff out there as well. So here's an example of what a high fidelity wireframe looks like. Again, we're not developing, we're not connected with data set. We are listening to the questions that they have, and then we're making some educated guesses of what it can look like based on what our assumptions, what the data can look like. So we can build out this wireframe, we can hand this off to the stakeholders and say like, hey, now this is what we would build this out. Does this look good? Is this fundamentally what you're expecting? Do we need to move this icon? Do we need to shift this, layout of anything of that nature? You hand this to them, you get really quick yes and no responses. You can adjust it really fast and then kind of go from there. So this is a high fidelity wireframe. So when it comes to how to build a wireframe, we're going to organize and prioritize the requirements. So we're going to organize the requirements based on a level of importance. So our original request was which subcategories have the highest sales, what are those per region, sales, profit, and total orders, and then what are the sales per state, and then which segment and region have the highest sales, total sales, profit, and orders. Now, when we refine it, right, we are going to organize it based on importance. So we know that our total sales, profit, and orders, pretty important KPI. So we're actually going to put that at the top. When we're going to look at the next thing, we're going to look at our sales per region over time. What are the sales, profit, and total orders for each region? Which segment and region have the highest sales? What are the sales per state? And which subcategories have the highest sales? So we think about this with the layout. We built out the wireframe, and we want to build this stuff in the Z. So if you're not familiar, the Z, when you build on a dashboard, is typically where you start. Your most important information starts in your top left, and then you move to the right, down, and then to horizontal, and then to the right. So you're building from a Z. So we want our top of the dashboard to be our KPI. So our total sales, profit, and orders. And then next we'll layer it. And then we understand the bottom right, our subcategories have the highest sales. So when it comes to our wireframing, we're going to walk through the process of selecting the best chart type and determine the best chart type to represent each requirement. So when we're thinking about our layout, we want to use for our KPIs, bands, our big, angry, aggregated, annoy numbers, but they're big asterisk numbers. They're big numbers, right? They're gigantic numbers that pop out. So what are our KPIs? Our total sales, profit, and orders. And then when we're thinking about anything over time, the best rule of thumb is use a line chart. So we're looking at our sales per region over time. And then we are we're combining 3 different KPIs for each region. So that's a good use case to use a text table. And then for segment and region, we can use a highlight table, bar chart for that. And then because we're using geographical information in the United States, we can use a map to show that information. And then which subcategories have the highest sales, we can use a bar chart there. Because we're looking at the highest and lowest sales, the bar chart could articulate that story for us. And then 4, we're going to incorporate the user preferences. So as we mentioned, we have a style guide. So we have the icons, we have the brand colors, we have the information associated with them. So now we can start leveraging that to make this thing an actual living, breathing document using their style guide and their preferences and putting this into fruition. So when we go to our actual wireframe, this is what example can look like. So we have a blue user preference and we have icons. So what we can do is leverage the color guide that we have from them. And we can leverage it and use blue. So we have info filters, export buttons, and different things that allow them to export this as PDF or JPEG if they want to. In the second section, we have our big aggregated numbers in the middle, and we added icons to make it pop and give it a little bit of flair. So we have a sales tag. For profit, we just have a money bag. And then for orders, we just have a manufacturer box, open box, because it gives the message that it's orders. So the icons give it a little bit of pop and a little bit of flair. When we are designing, we have a grid-like layout. So as you mentioned, for this region's customers order sales, we also can use a highlight table as well. And then for our geographical information, we have a sales per state, and then we have a sales per subcategory. So only use color when necessary. So we want to make sure that we're using no more than 2 dominant colors. We want our color to actually mean something when we're using it. We don't want to just use color for the sake of using it. We want to make sure that it's highlighting and calling out something. So in this example, we are leveraging dynamic parameters to say if I click on sales, then my color will reflect the sales per state. But if I click on profit, my color will update based on profit as well. And so this is a 4-step process that we use to build a wireframe. And then now we actually go into development. So when it comes to development, Tableau's role is that, right? We're using this tool to actually start the process of storytelling. So we've done the other stuff on the back end, not using necessarily Tableau, but you can use it, but we use third-party tools to build out the wireframe. And now we're actually going to use Tableau to integrate and connect to these different data sources because we asked the right amount of questions. We have access to the data sources, and now we can actually start building out this Tableau product dashboard. And so the first part, we want to data source, integrate and bring in the data sources and bring in information. Now we want to translate the wireframe design into an actual dashboard. So as we walk through the process of thinking about the calculations, do we need to build out custom LODs? Can we do some of that sort of stuff in the database itself and bring it in? But now we start the process of actually developing. We want to optimize it. So we want to make sure that this stuff is responsive and usability. You don't want to build out a dashboard that takes 10 seconds for a consumer to answer the questions. You want to make sure that it's performing as possible. So you want to test it out as you're building, right? Especially with some of the complex calculations that are out there. You want to make sure that, the stuff that you're building is optimized and performant for the user. And then accessibility and responsiveness. So ensure that it is accessible to users with diverse needs. Think about that. If people are colorblind, or if they need alt language, or if they need, different ways of connecting to the information, just make sure that, in the front of your mind, you're thinking about accessibility as well when it comes to the dashboard. So think about that as you're building it out. It might look great, but take the extra steps of putting in alternate language in there as well. It goes a long way. So from wireframe to Tableau use case, we think about the Tableau wireframe. We built out the wireframe acceptance. The clients have said we love it. So now we are going to development. We are building this out, and boom, we built out an actual Tableau dashboard based on a wireframe. So to the left, you saw we have made up data, which is 100,000, but then to the right, we actually have 1 million in sales, a profit, and orders, right? So now we're actually able to implement the real data, but it came into real life, and that process just helps save us a lot of time versus us going straight into development mode, looking at the data, and we create a dashboard, and the client is just like, that's not what I need at all, right? So the wireframe just helps get approval of what's needed a lot faster. So when it comes to test and employment, this is the iterative process. One, you want to actually publish the data source. So make sure the refreshes are kept up to date and document your work. I'm not the best at this, but do it. I found some stuff in AI. I got a video on my YouTube page where basically I saved a Tableau workbook as XML. If you don't know, Tableau workbooks by default are just XML files that are packages. So if you have a Tableau workbook and it's saved as like .twb, you can extract that to XML. And then what you can do, let me actually put a preface on this. If you do this technique, make sure it's with public facing data. Do not put corporate data in there. This is my AI just kind of advice when you're using data. Make sure you're using stuff that you trust. So with this methodology, make sure you're using public data. So for your Tableau workbook, if you save it as a .twb, you can then save it as a .xml file. What it does is it gives you the XML information, and then from there you can upload to either ChatGPT, Claude, DeepDot, or DeepSeek, which is the one that came out, or any of these AI tools, right? But you got an XML file. What you can do now is you can start using generative AI to then leverage your XML files and get all your calculations. So this is a great way to start spitting out and getting your information from XML into an actual document. So something to keep in mind, but again, just be mindful of that if you're using that for client information versus public data. When it comes to reporting, connect with your end users. So you want to build out a dashboard. You want to spend this time, but you actually want them to use it. So make sure that you're looking and reviewing and connecting with them and saying like, hey, is this meeting the mark? Is this giving me the information that I want? Or if it's not, let's get the feedback and make a plan to iterate. What we typically do is do a survey and get some information. We'll go to that in the next slide. When it comes to engagement, enable alerts and subscriptions to improve engagement. So if there's a threshold or a goal or something, make sure they have alerts set. That way they know if they automatically hit that. Monitor usage reports. So again, you want to push out something, you want to see who's actually using it. If you spend all this time, let's say it took you a month to build out a dashboard, but only 4 users are only using it, right? Look at the usage and see like, wow, man, I would expect more usage. And then connect with those people and understand, is it hitting the mark? Is it not hitting the mark? And then don't forget to have your end users quantify the value. So we go through a 4-step process of the feedback loop. So the first step is gather feedback. And then the second step is analyze the feedback. So step 1, when we gather feedback, typically create a survey that has information in there. We have some quantifiable and then some categorical information. So on a scale of 1 to 5, how did you feel about this dashboard? On a scale of 1 to 10, this makes my life easier, right? We have quantifiable information in there, but then we have some free text stuff on there. So if there's anything that you can do to make this report better, what would you be? Or, what is one feature that you wish you had? And you allow for free text. So you get the quantitative, but then the qualitative information as well. And then you analyze that feedback, understand, really, are there any commonalities or common themes in that feedback? Then you act on the feedback, connect with the people, implement it where it makes sense, and then follow with those end users and say, hey, thank you so much for interacting with us. Here's what we implemented. We'd love to have you test it out. And then you go through that loop process all over again. So with that is our 4-step dashboard development methodology. That's how we work on the storytelling component and getting information to them. And these are our QR codes. To the left, Rebel Analytics, that is my company, my business. To the right is Chantilly, Millennials and Data. And I did my best Chantilly impersonation today. But if you have any questions, I'm definitely here, and I will pause and see if anybody has any questions. Yeah. So yeah, I'll give you all the content that I push out. So podcast 10-Minute Tuesday. The goal of 10-Minute Tuesday is to highlight people's data and journey, primarily Black people, us. I want to highlight us in technology. I started it because I got annoyed in 2020 on LinkedIn where everybody was just like, I'm thrilled to get this job announcement, or I'm thrilled to be this, right? I'm thrilled, excited. And I was just like, man, no one tells you how you got there. So I created 10-Minute Tuesday, 10-minute consumption piece to understand the journey of why. I asked 5 questions ranging from how did you get your start in data to what's your least favorite job you ever had, and then what's one piece of advice that you're getting into your career. And the intent of it is for people to be vulnerable and talk about their journey of how they got into data, right? I've interviewed 8 Tableau visionaries. I've interviewed probably like 5 Microsoft MVPs, Alteryx aces, and there's commonalities amongst the things. So it's really just having a conversation in 10 minutes with people. On the YouTube side, I have Technology Tip Thursday. This is where I dive and create some content around whatever technical thing I'm thinking about in that moment. So I've done some AI stuff that I'm trying to kind of learn and get some general AI stuff. So yeah, follow my YouTube page. That's there. And then I got some other ideas up my sleeve. So I'll be launching a newsletter, and then I will create a boot camp as well for people who are trying to learn multiple tools. So if you're a Tableau developer and you want to learn something else, follow me for updates on there. I will be creating that by the end of the year. So a lot of content, a lot of busyness, but follow me, keep up with me, and connect with me if you have ideas.